culture and the arts. You're watching PBC Jamaica.
It's Thursday, January 11. This is the news on PBCJ. I am Simone Absalom. PBCJ understands that the government has improved its fringe benefits offer to Jamaica's teachers following a meeting between the Jamaica Teachers Association and the government on Tuesday. Under the proposed offer, the National Housing Trust, NHD, will make 10% of its housing developments available to teachers. Teachers who are NHD beneficiaries will be qualified for another benefit from the trust in 5 years instead of the current 15 years. The interest rate for teachers who are NHD beneficiaries will be reduced by 1 percentage point, and they will not be required to pay the closing costs for National Housing Trust houses. Additionally, Crown lands will be developed for teachers, and the government has also promised to increase health benefits. The communique also noted that guidance counselors are now eligible for senior teacher positions. Tertiary grants will be resumed to teachers' children. Police Commissioner George Coelho is facing pushback from officers in the High Command of the Jamaica Constabulary Force about statements made in his report about the Palisadoes Airport traffic fiasco. According to Nationwide News, in the report he submitted to the National Security Minister, Robert Montague, last Friday, Commissioner Coelho stated that written approval was given by the Deputy Commissioner of Police in charge of operations for the Sands party to take place. Clifford Blake is the only serving DCP in charge of operations in the police force. DCP Blake is denying Commissioner Coelho's suggestion that he gave permission for the Sands party, which caused the traffic debacle to go ahead. The commissioner is also facing criticism from within the High Command for his report, which failed to recommend decisive action against Superintendent Robert Walker, who's the commanding officer for East Kingston Division, where the Palisadoes Road is located. In a move to shore up the island's borders, the National Security Ministry has allocated US $92.8 million to purchase equipment. This includes 6 helicopters and airplanes for the Jamaica Defense Force. The aircrafts, which are worth approximately $49 million will be used for troop, passenger and medical evacuation, heavy cargo and troop transfer, as well as training. This comes on the heels of last year's acquisition of 2 boats worth US $24 million for the JDF Coast Guard. National Security Minister Robert Montague says the purchases are part of the 5-pillar crime reduction strategy and will head to stem the flow of illegal firearms and goods. Fly Jamaica has announced plans to establish a 24-hour call center to provide information for passengers who have been affected by widespread delays in recent days. This was the outcome of a meeting yesterday with the Guyana Civil Aviation Authority. The meeting was called by the Civil Aviation Authority after it received several complaints from passengers about flight delays and cancellations by the Guyanese-owned airline. The Caribbean Media Corporation reports that Fly Jamaica officials say the airline is expected to have its own Boeing 767 aircraft in operation today to relieve the backlog of passengers left stranded in Guyana and other destinations. Tourism Minister Edmund Bartlett says the sector's performance in 2017 accomplished in 1 year more than it did in 4 years combined. He says last year's performance was unprecedented. And at the end of 2017, the country welcomed more than 4 million visitors. This was a 12% increase over the previous year, 2016. The minister says revenues earned from tourism also topped records. Minister Bartlett also praised the growth of the Airbnb market. The tourism minister was addressing the official opening of Knutsford Express Depot at the Sangster International Airport in St. James. This is the second drop-off and pickup location in St. James for the 12-year-old company with island-wide operations. 500 public health care workers are to be trained to detect and treat with victims of human trafficking. Permanent Secretary in the Health Ministry, Sansia Bennett-Templer, says intervention is needed and the health sector has a role to play.
We have to break this cycle of violence. Clearly, the health sector has a very important role to play in this regard. Training has been done in the past, but we do have turnover of staff, and so it's very useful that there is the training plan.
The Standards Manual procedure was launched on Monday. The manual is to help healthcare officials deal with victims of human trafficking and contains pertinent information on how to identify and protect victims. Ms. Bennett-Templer cited studies that show that 88% of trafficking victims may turn to health facilities for help. As a result, she said a human trafficking video will be developed to sensitize healthcare practitioners. Jamaicans are being urged to become more earthquake aware. This after a 7.6 magnitude quake that struck off the Honduras coast on Tuesday night. The warning comes from Director General of the Office of Disaster Preparedness and Emergency Management, Major Clive Davies.
We're asking Jamaicans in whatever way, shape or form you can, do something. Do something to exercise your earthquake awareness, your earthquake preparedness. And if you're in doubt, make contact with this office. Visit our website. We have a host of documents ready for you. We would also want persons to visit the local authorities, the local municipal corporations, because they too, we have pamphlet, brochure, all of that ready.
In regional news, Canada has issued a travel advisory for Barbados due to a sewage mess on the south coast of the island. There is an overflow of raw sewage on that section of the island due to mechanical failure. The Health Ministry is investigating over 30 cases of gastroenteritis. However, Acting Chief Medical Officer Dr. Kenneth George says they have not found enough evidence to link the outbreak to the sewage.
Asking Barbadians who drive cars that they need to slow down in that area, and they need to be just conscious of people walking on the road. I think that just makes sense. The other thing we are asking businesses is to make sure that their food hygiene practices meet minimal standards. Simple things like washing hands, cleaning down surfaces, making sure that all illness is reported either to the Ministry of Health or to the food establishment so they can give that information to us. So we are asking persons to cooperate with us during this period until we have a medium and long-term solution to the problem on the South Coast.
Guyana is not going to decriminalize marijuana anytime soon. Attorney General Basil Williams says that the herb is more harmful than good. We have more in this report.
Many countries have been making moves to decriminalize marijuana. That might not be the case for Guyana, at least not anytime soon. Minister of Legal Affairs Basil Williams feels the chatter about legalizing marijuana should be dropped. The AG based his position on a recent international study conducted by the United Nations.
Because whereas we had this belief, as people used to tell you, a little smoking is good for the eyes, it's help you with certain diseases, etc. The picture that has been revealed from that study, I can assure you, I think we should try to get that out in the narrative.
The Attorney General noted that other countries have been moving to erase the question of decriminalizing marijuana from the rhetoric of their citizens.
In fact, I've seen in the United States last week news a push now to retrieve the position and recall this whole question of legalizing marijuana. So we have a report, I think it came from the UN, some UN body, about the negatives of marijuana. I don't know if you've ever seen it. Well, I don't think we need, it emphasizes that we need public education.
Many groups, including the Rastafarian community, have been calling on the government to review the law which criminalizes marijuana use. In fact, one political party which contested the 2015 general elections promised to strike out the law should they be elected. That party never saw the light of day at the elections. The question of decriminalizing ganja comes on the backdrop of numerous reports that scores of persons are hauled before the court, charged and jailed for 3 years for having a small quantity of marijuana in their possession, or, in most cases, just a spliff of the herb. Countries such as Spain, Italy, the Czech Republic, and the Netherlands support the use of marijuana in small quantities.
In sports, fast bowling legend Sir Curtly Ambrose has criticized the Caribbean pitches for being, quote, terrible, end quote, and believes they were behind the regional side's poor showing on the recent tour of New Zealand. The Antiguan said the region needs to resort to the type of pitches which produced the outstanding players of the past and propelled West Indies to the pinnacle of world cricket. He's reported as saying, quote, we need to get back to the days when we were the best team in the world, where we had good cricket pitches, where there is a little bit in it for the fast bowlers, a bit for the spinners, and if you're a good enough batsman, you can score runs, end quote. And that's the news. Do stay with us. The weather report is next. This is PBCJ's weather report. Thanks so much for staying with us. Let's start as usual with our local currents. In Kingston right now, we're seeing a temperature at just about 28 degrees Celsius, and we're seeing a forecast of possible showers this afternoon going into this evening. We're seeing that the temperature is set to go down to 22 degrees Celsius as the sun sets at 6:33 p.m. In our 7-day forecast, we're looking into the weekend where we're seeing there's a high percentage chance forecast for rainfall over the weekend. We're seeing a 90% chance of rainfall forecast for Saturday and Sunday, so do ensure that you plan accordingly. We're seeing that we could have rainfall going into next week as well. The average temperature we're seeing for the days on your screen is between 21 and 28 degrees Celsius. Let's take a look at our forecast for Montego Bay. The sun came up at 5:50 a.m. this morning, and certain areas had some showers there in St. James. We're seeing that the temperature was just about 21 degrees Celsius this morning, but it's set to go up to a high at 28 degrees Celsius this afternoon. We're also seeing a forecast of some rainfall this afternoon for St. James. We're looking at sunset at 6:33 p.m. In our 7-day forecast for Montego Bay, we're looking into next week where we're seeing a forecast of rainfall as a possibility going into the weekend. We're seeing a 50% chance of rainfall for Saturday, and that increases to 90% on Sunday. It goes down to about 80% on Monday, and we're seeing the percentage fall going into next week. We're seeing an average temperature between 22 and 27 degrees Celsius for the days on your screen. That's the next 7 days for Montego Bay, St. James. Let's take a look at the forecast across the island for today. We're looking at an average temperature at just about 28 degrees today across the island. We're also seeing a forecast of scattered showers across most parishes, but we're seeing sunny skies over there in Negril. In our forecast for tomorrow, we're looking at an average temperature between 27 and 30 degrees Celsius across the island. We're also seeing a possibility of showers in the northern and hilly inland areas of the island. We're seeing cloudy conditions with a bit of sunshine for May Pen, and we're seeing that the sun will be out for Black River St. Elizabeth. Incidentally, Black River St. Elizabeth scored the highest temperature forecast for tomorrow at 30 degrees Celsius. And in our travel planner, we're looking to the United States where we're seeing Los Angeles, sunny skies, but a cool temperature with a high at 19 degrees Celsius. Over there in Miami, we're seeing cloudy conditions and snowfall for New York and Atlanta. In our regional forecast, we're looking at an average temperature between 24 and 28 degrees Celsius, and we're seeing a forecast of rainfall across the region. So ensure that if you're traveling, you plan accordingly. And that's it for the weather report. Thanks so much for making it PBCJ. Remember, we are the People's Station.
Each time you're not paying full attention to the road environment, the greater your chances of getting in a crash like that. Plan routes to avoid focusing on GPS systems.